Hey guys, Shantae Simone here with you this morning. Just had this thought on my mind, and unless I speak about it this morning, it's going to continue to be there. So let's talk this morning. Got a question for you. How's those boundaries in your life? You got some? Well, if you don't, it's time to kiss that boundary-free life goodbye, sis. Boundaries. Boundaries are limits we set in order to create a healthy, personal space for ourselves. They may be physical or emotional in nature, guys, but we need to set some boundaries. Boundaries help us to distinguish our desires, our needs, and our preferences. So let's kiss that boundary-free life goodbye. You know, this morning I got to reading the Word of God, and in Psalms 119, verse 105, it says, Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. And as I get older every day, I'm realizing that I need the Word because it is a light to my path. And I've done a lot of reading of the Word all my life, but it's time to apply it. As Dr. Ivan says, get knowledge, but real knowledge is when you apply it. So this morning, my reading and my study came from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 8. And I say, it's time to kiss that boundary-free life goodbye, because when we read Ecclesiastes 3, we realize that there's a time and place for everything. Time and place for everything, guys. Yeah. So I'm going to read this for you. To everything, there's a season and a time for every purpose in heaven. And when we understand what that means, when things come to an end that we were holding on to, that we treasured, it won't seem so bad because there's a time and place for everything. We can't hold on to everything. That little old car that we had when we were kids that our parents bought as a toy and it broke, it was time for that to be thrown in the trash. We couldn't hold on to it. But yet we want to hold on to things as we become adults. That's not good for us. That's broken. So it's time to kiss that boundary-free life goodbye, sis. To everything, there's a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. When we realize what that's saying, we will rejoice when someone is born, and we will also have an understanding when they must transition away from us. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which was planted. If you've been gardening at any time in your life, you know you don't leave those plants out there in that garden all year long. There's a time to plant that seed, a time to plant that seedling, and a time to pluck the whole thing up and get rid of it. A time for everything. It's time to set boundaries. It's time to get rid of that boundary-free life. A time to kill and a time to heal. Sometimes these situations we find ourselves in is not good for us. It is toxic. T-O-X. I see. Yeah, I see you need to get rid of it. I see I needed to get rid of it. It was not good. It's time to kill it. And then give yourself time to heal. It's not always time to jump back into a relationship. It's time to heal. So a time and a place for everything. The Word of God is an awesome place for knowledge, guys. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to break down and a time to build up. When you go to the beach and you build your little sandcastle, the water comes in automatically and it breaks it down, and then it's time to rebuild that sandcastle. That's life, guys. A time and place for everything. A time to weep and a time to laugh. You laughing all the time? That's craziness. But you shouldn't be laughing when it's time to cry, and you shouldn't be crying when it's time to laugh. There's a time and place for everything. Get rid of that boundary-free life. It's time for boundaries. It's time to be balanced. A time to mourn. You know, things come to an end. Your heart was broken, or you lost that job. It's time to mourn, guys. It's okay to mourn. I don't know where we get this idea from that we don't feel anything. There's a time and place for everything. A time to mourn and a time to dance. And for those of you who go to churches and tell you can't dance, right there in the scriptures, guys. Right there in the scriptures. So there's a time to mourn and a time to dance. And when it's time to praise, get up on your feet and give the Lord that praise. It's time to dance. There are things that's going to happen in our lives, and it is time to rejoice and to dance. Look at the Jews. They do it all the time, guys. All the time. It's amazing. So let us learn to dance. Let us have boundaries in our lives. Let us have a time and a place for everything. Let's move on. Time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together. Sometimes you just got to get rid of folks, and other times you're building your circle. You know, we're just making this practical and applicable to our lives today. There's a time and place for everything. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. You're not going to do anything and get anywhere if you're hugging all the time. But there's a time and a place for that. A time and a place for that in marriage, time and a place for that in friendships, and a time and place for that with your children. There's a time and place, guys. Just remember, time and place. Time and a place to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. Because sometimes you got to get to work. So how you going to be embracing if you're getting to work? Something to think about. A time to gain and a time to lose. How many of us want to lose? Yet, in losing is where our most important lessons are. A life of balance, guys. Get rid of the boundary-free life and gain some boundaries. It's okay. It's a time to gain and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to throw away. Listen, you getting that sexy and fabulous body? Them clothes need to fit you well, girl. It's time to throw those things away that made you look like you were in a bag, and get you some clothes that fit. So there's a time to keep those memories, good memories, but there's a time to throw away the ones that make us sad. What are we gonna do with those? Live in the present, not in the past. A time to tear and a time to sow. How many of you guys know how to sow out there? That's not important, but there's a time to tear and a time to sow. A time to keep silent and a time to speak. All right? There's a time to keep silent and a time to speak. Yes, we are to observe. But when we see injustice, we are to open our mouths and speak as we see it. A time to love and a time to hate. We love certain things. You got to love certain things. But then you may hate certain things as well. Certain injustices. Not people, but hate certain things. Right? Be balanced. Find balance in your lives, guys. And then finally, we all hate this word, war. But there's a time for war, guys. A time to quit being a punk, to quit being a sissy, and to stand up to ourselves and to others and war in the spirit of God. Use His word for war. It's a time to stand up for injustices being done to you. A time for war. And then there's a time of peace. Let's welcome it all, guys. Let's welcome it all. Let's throw away that boundary-free life and welcome some boundaries in our lives. Boundaries is about balance, guys. It's not all for them and none for me. It's about boundaries. Boundaries, balance, limits set in order to create a healthy, sense of personal space for ourselves. Okay? Physical and emotional in nature, distinguishing our desires, needs, and preferences. It's time to kiss that boundary-free life goodbye. Peace, y'all. Tell me about that boundary that you built and how you kissed that boundary-free life goodbye. Talk to you guys later. Shanta Simone here. Please click like and subscribe. See you again next time.